Apollo was the god of healing. He was also the god of plague, and he never told you in advance which one you were about to get. This is the story of the most contradictory figure on Olympus, a healer who could just as easily kill you, a truth-teller who cursed a woman to never be believed, sometimes in the very same myth. Apollo was born to Zeus and the Titaness Leto, twin brother to Artemis. His birth started as a myth about persecution. Hera, furious over yet another of Zeus's affairs, forbade Leto from giving birth anywhere on solid ground, anywhere connected to the mainland or the seafloor. Leto wandered for months with nowhere to go, until she found Delos, a small island that floated free, tethered to nothing beneath it. Technically, it satisfied Hera's impossible condition. Artemis was born first, and within moments was already helping deliver her twin brother, starting a partnership between the two that would last the rest of their divine lives. Grateful for the refuge, Apollo later rewarded the island for sheltering his birth. Poseidon fixed Delos permanently in place with 4 great columns rising from the seafloor, and it became one of the most sacred sites in the ancient Greek world, second only to Delphi itself. Apollo wasn't even a day old when he asked Hephaestus for a bow. As an infant, he set out to kill the python, a massive serpent that had tormented his mother throughout her pregnancy. He found it guarding a sacred site at Delphi and killed it with a single shot. Then he claimed the site for himself, founding what would become the most important oracle in the ancient Greek world, a place the Greeks believed marked the literal center of the earth. The oracle operated through a priestess called the Pythia, who entered a trance and delivered prophecies believed to come directly from Apollo. For over 1,000 years, kings, generals, and ordinary people traveled to Delphi before major decisions, going to war, founding colonies, choosing which path to take with their lives. The oracle's answers were famously vague, open to almost any interpretation, which meant they were nearly always technically correct, no matter what actually happened. Apollo also founded athletic and musical contests at Delphi held every 4 years, the Pythian Games, second in prestige only to the Olympics themselves, and that ambiguity at the oracle's core is very likely what kept the whole operation running for 1,000 years. Before we get to the curse Apollo gave for a gift he couldn't take back, hit subscribe now so you catch every side of this god before the episode's done. Apollo's duality is nowhere clearer than in the myth of Cassandra, a Trojan princess. Apollo wanted her and offered her the gift of prophecy in exchange for her affection. She took the gift, then refused him anyway. Furious and unable to take back a gift already given, Apollo added one cruel condition. She would keep seeing the future with perfect accuracy, but no one would ever believe a word of it. Cassandra saw the fall of Troy coming in complete detail and warned her people over and over. Every warning was ignored. She watched her own city's destruction arrive exactly as she predicted, powerless to stop any of it, cursed by the god of truth to never once be believed. Apollo's romantic pursuits rarely ended well for the person on the other end of them. When he pursued the nymph Daphne, she wanted nothing to do with him and ran, with Apollo chasing her through the forest. Exhausted and out of options, Daphne begged her father, a river god, for rescue. He turned her into a laurel tree just as Apollo caught up to her. Heartbroken, Apollo declared the laurel sacred to him from then on, wearing a wreath of its leaves as his personal symbol, a crown made from the very tree his own pursuit had created. Apollo's darker side wasn't limited to romance. A satyr named Marsyas challenged Apollo to a musical contest, convinced his flute could beat Apollo's lyre. Apollo won, and the punishment he chose was brutal even by the standards of Greek mythology. He had Marsyas skinned alive for his arrogance. It's a myth that sits uncomfortably next to Apollo's reputation as the civilized god of music and the arts, and a reminder that almost every Olympian carried real cruelty underneath their more celebrated qualities. Not every tragedy around Apollo came from his own cruelty. Apollo deeply loved a Spartan prince named Hyacinthus, and the two spent their days together. racing and throwing the discus along the riverbank. Zephyrus, the west wind, wanted Hyacinthus for himself and, consumed by jealousy, blew Apollo's discus off course mid-throw. It struck Hyacinthus in the head and killed him instantly. Apollo, grief-stricken, refused to let Hades claim him, and instead transformed Hyacinthus's spilled blood into a flower that still carries his name today. Unlike Daphne, this wasn't a myth about Apollo taking something. It was one of the rare stories where he simply lost someone and couldn't undo it, no matter how much power he actually had. Apollo's son Asclepius became such a gifted healer that he learned to raise the dead, and that's exactly where the trouble started. Zeus saw a mortal cheating death as a threat to the entire natural order and struck Asclepius down with a thunderbolt. Apollo couldn't touch Zeus directly, so he took his revenge on the ones who built the weapon instead, killing the Cyclopes who forged Zeus's thunderbolts. For that, Zeus sentenced Apollo to a year of servitude as a mortal, working as a shepherd for King Admetus of Phyrae. Apollo served out the sentence without complaint, and by most accounts served it so well that Admetus's herds thrived under his care, and the two even became close friends. It's one of the few myths where the god of medicine spends a stretch of his own life as an ordinary man. Apollo's twin sister Artemis shared in his cruelty just as often as she shared in his gifts. When a queen named Niobe boasted that her 14 children made her a better mother than Leto, who had only 2, the insult reached Apollo and Artemis directly. The twins responded by killing all 14 of Niobe's children in a single day, Apollo striking down the sons, Artemis the daughters. Niobe wept until, according to the myth, she turned to stone, and even as stone, she kept weeping. Few punishments in Greek mythology are harsher, and this one came down over nothing more than a boast. Most people assume Apollo was always the god of the sun, but that association actually came later. In the earliest Greek myths, the sun was driven across the sky by a separate deity entirely, a titan named Helios, and Apollo's own original domains were music, prophecy, healing, and archery. Only centuries afterward, as Greek religion evolved and the two figures' roles started overlapping, did poets and playwrights begin folding Helios's identity into Apollo's, until the merged version became the one that stuck in popular memory. By the time Rome adopted Greek mythology, Apollo, the sun god, was already treated as though it had always been true. It hadn't. It was a few hundred years of gradual rebranding, not an original part of who he was. That same contradiction runs through Apollo's most fundamental domains. He was the god of healing, and yet just as capable of inflicting plague and disease on anyone who angered him. In Homer's Iliad, when the Greek king Agamemnon insulted one of Apollo's priests, Apollo answered by firing plague arrows into the Greek army's camp, killing soldiers and animals alike for 9 straight days until the insult was corrected. The same god who could cure disease could deliver it just as easily, and the Greeks understood that as 2 sides of one divine coin, not a contradiction at all. Much of what we know about Apollo comes from Homer's Iliad, where his plague and his favoritism toward Troy shaped the war's early events, and from the Homeric hymns, which detail his birth and the founding of Delphi in particular. The historian Pausanias documented the Delphic oracle in detail centuries later, and the site's famous inscription, "Know thyself," carved above the temple entrance, became one of the most quoted lines in Western philosophy. Roman mythology kept Apollo's name completely unchanged, one of the only major gods who wasn't renamed at all when Rome adapted Greek mythology for itself. Apollo's legacy is pure duality, light and plague, truth and curse, healing and cruelty, all housed in the same golden figure. He gave humanity music, medicine, and prophecy, and took away Cassandra's credibility, Marsyas's skin, and 14 of Niobe's children in a single afternoon. Maybe more than any other Olympian, Apollo represents the old Greek idea that even the most beautiful, most gifted forces in the world carry real danger right alongside their gifts. We've now covered Hades, Zeus, Poseidon, and Athena, and this channel isn't done with the Olympians yet. Subscribe so you don't miss whoever comes next.